Hello again. Here we have a new guest, and I would like to let him introduce himself. So, who you are, where do you come from, or what do you do there where you live?
Hello, I'm Pierrick, Avelin. I am from Switzerland, the French-speaking part of Switzerland. I grew up in France. I'm a youth director for the Swiss French-speaking conference and Italian conference. I live with my wife and my daughter, 4 years old daughter.
Yeah.
So and I'm happy to be in Lahti, Finland for this congress and to lead this with all the youth.
Yeah, that's a great thing to have someone from Switzerland, but also from France, because well, that touches me, since I live also in France. So I know that you have been giving a workshop, and you have a workshop here in this meeting, in this Congress. What was the topic that you have been giving?
Okay, the title is God's will versus your will.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's on the topic of finding the God's will in our life, and to break a little bit the misunderstanding we have sometimes in the church. We heard phrases like God has a plan for you, and it can put a lot of pressure on the youth, thinking and what if I don't find the good path, the good way in my life that God has prepared for me, and basically what I want to give them, it's the idea that the God's will is for us to be free, to be responsible for our life, and to make choices in our life. Actually choosing life, like the Deuteronomy text says in chapter 13, verses 19, choosing life is making choice with God, and choosing death is no making choice at all.
Interesting. So,
basically, that's it.
So that means that God does have a plan for each one of us, but we misunderstood the meaning of that.
Yeah.
So we have been probably imposing things to others or to ourselves.
Yeah.
That's
thinking that there is only one way and that's it. And I think the plan of God is to make choices. And every time the Bible said to follow ways of God, it's always a plural. Follow the ways of God. And I like to see God like a GPS. If you enter an address in Google Maps, sometimes you give you two ways. Say it's the same amount of time. So you can, sometimes God will tell you, choose from the two ways. Sometimes he will tell you this way is the better, but anytime the GPS recalculates the path, the way, if you make different choices. And the important thing is doing things with God, because the Hebrew people didn't make always the good choice for them, but God was always with them.
In other words, if there was a plan of God, that will mean that there is no free will, for instance.
Yeah. For example, that's why the plan of God is to be really free, with no predestination or something like that. You have to move with Him.
Why did you choose, or why do you like that topic? That I guess it's something personal.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's also working with youth and seeing youth really to be worried, because they are at an age which they have to take a lot of big important decision, the career, the choice of husband or wife, the choice of moving, maybe living in another country, and everything, and it's really an important step for their life.
So how do you think that this workshop and the results that we probably expect from that workshop will help the youth that were in your workshop and the future of the church? Wow, that's a tricky
it's
one.
a lot of things.
How this workshop could help the youth that were there and them and the church, of course.
For me, I want to give to the youth they don't have to fear making choices in life. They have to make God their partnership for their choices since the beginning, but sometimes the youth make their own choices and then involve God after, to encourage them to make God since the beginning of the big choices and the reflection, and to don't fear to make bad choices, because God is always with us. If you make bad choices, it's okay. You can choose. You can God will recalculate the way, and you will learn something even in the difficult times.
So that also applies the way that the youth relates to the church. That's,
Also, yeah, you
So-
don't. With the church, of course, it's not to put some guilt on everyone, or just leave people free of choosing, as long as they are walking with God. It's the key idea here.
Okay, so after the workshop, what would you expect? What were your feelings if you already had it? And did you have a feedback?
I have some feedback. I had a lot of youth asking questions at the end and come to talk to me, because it's true, they have important decisions to make, and it's a real struggle, and they need help. And what I hope is, as they will go back to their churches, to their country, they will find help. Real help, not people who are gonna say you have to do this, but real help to people who can say, okay, let's put every card on the table, the pros and the cons,
Yeah.
and let's say, so you can make your decision, and we will be with you as long as you are.
To coach them
To coach them, to
Yeah.
be a companion of on the road.
on the road, but letting them to take their decisions.
decisions.
Oh, that's good. And so far, now just moving a little bit backwards, we are living in the midst of the Congress right now. We have some experiences. Besides your workshop, what do you enjoy so far? What do you appreciate the most of this whole Congress?
Yeah, what I appreciate the most is a lot of things, but the possibility, the ability to be finally together after the pandemic situation, and then we have the war situation, and we got a lot of uncertainty the last years, and being part of the organization team, it was a little bit of worries, because we have to postpone every time the event, and now finally we are together, and we see that the youth were in need to be together, and it's good to see them, and particularly when we are in worship situation, they all sing, they all worship God, and it's good to see that after the particular time we had.
It has been 2 long years, or even
Yeah.
So we see that happiness, people hugging, and that's true. So Pierrick, thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
time. Thank you for the interview, and thank you to you, all the auditors and people that is watching for the video. See you next one. Okay.